Best HFY stories. 1. Aliens junk is humanity's jackpot. The Drelk ambassador's mandibles clicked in disbelief as he gazed at the mountain of discarded technology in front of him. This is refuse? He hissed. Junk, useless scrap. Across from him, Captain Elias Carter of the Terran Salvage Corps grinned and clapped his hands together. Exactly, and that's why we'll take it off your hands for free. The ambassador let out a low chittering sound, the Drelk equivalent of exasperation. Why, none of it functions. It is broken, outdated, incompatible. Not even the scavengers of the Outer Rim would take such a pitiful haul. Elias shrugged. Well, we humans have a saying, no man's trash is another man's treasure. He patted a rusted, half-melted energy core the size of a car. And trust me, Ambassador, this stuff is gold to us. The Drelk ambassador didn't argue further. If the humans wanted to haul away tons of useless scrap, let them. It was no concern of the Dominion. 6 months later, Admiral Serlich of the Drelk Dominion stared at the tactical display in shock. How is this possible? He muttered. Across the holographic table, his war council looked equally stunned. The enemy fleet, composed of nothing but human vessels, had just obliterated an entire Dominion battle group. These were not the sleek, powerful warships of the great Drelk Armadano. These were salvage wrecks, ships that had been considered beyond repair. They've rebuilt them, one of his commanders whispered. Serlich clenched his mandibles. Not just rebuilt them, improved them? Where the Dominion discarded old weapons, the humans repurposed them. Where the Drelks saw rust and decay, humanity saw potential, and now, the very scrap they had practically given away was being used to tear through their own forces. The reports were even more disturbing. The humans had taken outdated Dominion shield generators and tripled their efficiency. They had reverse-engineered weapons, long considered obsolete, and made them deadlier. They had even upgraded the Dominion's rejected artificial intelligence cores, turning them into lethal targeting systems. And worst of all, their flagship, the TSV Junkyard King, had been cobbled together from 3 different Dominion battleships, none of which had been operational when they were handed over. The Drelk had underestimated humanity. Again, the final stand. The Dominion's home fleet scrambled to intercept the human flotilla before it reached the core worlds. On paper, the Dominion should still have had the advantage. Their ships were newer, their weapons more advanced. But when the first volley was exchanged, it became clear that newer didn't mean better. The Junkyard King took direct hits that should have crippled it, but instead, its shields flared, shields pieced together from discarded alien tech, running on human ingenuity. The Dominion's capital ship, Pride of Krovik, fired a barrage of plasma lances. In response, the human fleet launched a counterattack of repurposed Dominion missiles, hacked and reprogrammed to bypass Dominion defenses. Impossible, Admiral Serlich whispered. He watched as his fleet fell apart, his best ships shredded by their own discarded technology. And then, the final insult, the humans opened a broadcast. Elias Carter's smirking face filled the screen. Hey, Admiral, just wanted to say thanks for all the donations. We put them to good use. The feed cut. Moments later, the Pride of Krovik exploded. The war was over. Aftermath. Months later, the Terran Salvage Corps returned to the Dominion's remaining outposts as scavengers, but as the new dominant force of the galaxy. The lesson was clear. The Dominion had thrown away their past. Humanity had built their future from it. And in the end, the real treasure wasn't the junk. It was humanity's ability to turn it into something greater. Here's a HFY story based on your title. Best HFY stories. 1. Aliens junk is humanity's jackpot, Part 2. The Dominion surrendered. It wasn't an official surrender at first, but when your fleets are wrecked, your homeworld is defenseless, and your enemy is knocking on the gates with warships built from your own discarded tech, there's not much else you can do. Admiral Serlich had no choice but to sit across from Captain Elias Carter once again. This time, the human wasn't just some salvage rat trying to pick through the Dominion's leftovers. Now, he was the representative of the most powerful rising force in the galaxy. Serlich's mandibles twitched as he looked at Carter, who was leaning back in his chair, sipping something from a tin cup. Coffee, the human had called it. The smell was acrid, almost burnt, but the way Carter drank it, one would think it was the nectar of the gods. We are prepared to negotiate terms, Sirlex said stiffly. Carter grinned. You mean you're ready to accept our terms? The Admiral bristled, but he didn't argue. What do you want? Carter took another sip and set his cup down. Simple. No more wars of conquest. No more planetary enslavement. No more tossing perfectly good tech into the void, just because you think it's outdated. He tapped a finger against the table. We're not here to destroy you, Admiral. Hell, if we wanted to, we could, easily. Sirlex's mandibles clicked together in frustration. He knew Carter wasn't bluffing. Carter leaned forward. We're offering something better. An opportunity? The Drelk officers around the table shifted uncomfortably. Opportunity, Sirlex repeated warily. Carter nodded. Yeah, you see, we humans, we're damn good at fixing things, at making the old new again. We built an empire out of the scraps you threw away, but we don't want to rule over you. He spread his hands. We want you to work with us. The room was silent. The idea was unthinkable. The Dominion had always ruled. The concept of equality with a lesser species, especially one so newly emerged onto the galactic stage, was absurd. And yet, Sirlex thought of the battlefield, thought of the ingenuity that had turned the Dominion's discarded wrecks into an unstoppable force, thought of the humans who had taken what others abandoned and made it into something greater. Perhaps, he realized, there was wisdom in their madness. Perhaps this was the future. Sirlex exhaled sharply. I will bring this to the Dominion High Council. Carter smirked. Good. And while you do that, let me show you something. He pressed a button, and a holographic display flickered to life. A shipyard, no, a factory filled the screen, where human engineers and Dominion workers labored side by side, welding together new ships, improving old designs, integrating both species' technology. Sirlex's eyes widened. You've already begun? Carter grinned. Of course. Like I said, Admiral, one alien's junk, humanity's jackpot. Sirlex stared at the screen for a long moment, then nodded. The war was over, but a new age had just begun. Best HFY Stories, One Alien's Junk is Humanity's Jackpot Part 3. The Dominion High Council deliberated for weeks. The idea of cooperation with humanity was unprecedented. To work alongside a species they once considered primitive scavengers, it was an insult to everything the Dominion had stood for. And yet, the evidence was undeniable. The Dominion had always believed strength came from advancement abandoning the old, forging ahead with the new. But humanity had proven them wrong. Strength didn't come from abandoning the past. It came from adapting it, from making the most of every resource, from refusing to discard what could still serve a purpose. It was a hard lesson, but it was one the Dominion had no choice but to accept. A new era begins. The first official Terran-Dominion alliance treaty was signed on what remained of Krelvik, the Dominion's former capital world. It was a moment of reluctant compromise on part necessity, one part pragmatism. Elias Carter was there, of course. He sat with a cocky grin, shaking Sirlex's clawed hand in front of the entire galaxy. Told you we'd make a hell of a team. Not everyone in the Dominion approved. There were whispers of treachery, of humiliation, of an empire reduced to relying on humans. But those whispers grew quieter when the first hybrid warships left the shipyard. Sleek, deadly, and terrifyingly efficient. Dominion design, human ingenuity, perfection. A threat bigger than war. The Terran-Dominion alliance had barely begun to solidify when the first distress signals arrived. Deep space stations along the galactic rim had gone silent. Entire colonies vanished. Even pirate fleets, normally thriving in lawless regions, had stopped transmitting. At first, it was dismissed as isolated incidents. Then the footage came in. A Dominion scouting vessel had captured a transition from a dying world, a planet stripped bare, its cities reduced to dust. The last broadcast showed a flickering image, ships, massive and alien, unlike anything in known space. They weren't here to conquer. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to consume. The enemy of my enemy. The High Council gathered once more. this time with human leaders at the table. "We call them the Reapers," said Admiral Surla grimly, watching the grainy footage of an entire fleet being torn apart. Elias Carter's face was unusually serious as he leaned forward. "How do we stop them?" The council chamber was silent. The Dominion had never encountered anything like this. The Reapers didn't fight for territory. They didn't leave survivors. They didn't even communicate. One by one, the Drelk warlords lowered their eyes. "We don't know," one of them admitted. For the first time in its history, the mighty Dominion had no answers. Carter exhaled. "Then I guess it's up to us." A war of innovation. As the Reapers advanced, the humans did what they did best: adapted. Human Dominion scientists reverse-engineered wreckage from Reaper vessels, searching for weaknesses. The salvage teams worked around the clock, piecing together anything that could be turned into a weapon. Every discarded technology, every forgotten prototype, every bit of junk that the Dominion had once deemed worthless was suddenly valuable. The humans built everything they could. They turned broken warp cores into planet-cracking torpedoes. They weaponized outdated AI. They even repurposed abandoned Dyson sphere fragments into energy cannons powerful enough to rip through Reaper hulls. And at the center of it all, the Junkyard King, now upgraded with stolen Reaper tech, standing as the last line of defense. The first battle. When the Reapers finally reached the heart of known space, they were met with something they had never encountered before. Not a fractured Dominion. Not a weak, divided humanity, but a united force, forged in adversity, built from scraps, stronger than ever. The battle was brutal. Entire fleets burned, planets were lost, but for the first time, the Reapers encountered something that didn't break, something that fought back. And, as the Junkyard King unleashed its weapons, as Dominion cruisers and human warships stood side by side against the tide, one thing became clear. Humanity had once built its future from discarded junk. Now, they were about to build their legacy, to be continued. Best HFY Stories, When Aliens Junk His Humanity's Jackpot Part 4. The first battle against the Reapers was a victory. Barely. The Junkyard King had survived, but half the fleet hadn't been so lucky. The Reapers fought with an eerie, machine-like precision, an endless swarm of ships that adapted mid-battle. Their hulls self-repaired, their weapons recalibrated, their tactics evolved in real time. And yet, humanity held the line. Not because they were stronger, not because they were faster, but because no one in the galaxy could outthink a desperate human with a pile of junk and a deadline. The war machine. Elias Carter stood on the deck of Salvage One, the largest shipyard in the Terran Dominion Alliance. The station was a patchwork monstrosity of Dominion war tech and human engineering, with a bit of everything stitched together: plasma forges, Nanita assemblers, even a scavenged Reaper reactor that still hummed ominously. Sir Luck, now Grand Admiral of the Dominion, watched the madness unfold. "This is," Sir Luck struggled for the right word. "Insane," Carter offered. The Admiral clicked his mandibles in frustration. "Unstable." He gestured at a team of human engineers, literally duct taping wires together. "Your species has no discipline, no precision. This is not how warships are built." Carter grinned, hands in his pockets. "Yeah, and yet, we're the only ones who've beaten the Reapers." Sir Luck had no argument. In the past, Dominion shipyards took decades to construct new warships. Humans, they threw out the rulebook. They welded together old hulls, replaced traditional power cores with 3 different types of reactors, and tested half-finished weapons in live combat. Where Dominion engineers saw unsafe, humans saw innovative, and the results spoke for themselves. The Reapers adapt so humanity evolves. It wasn't long before the Reapers struck again. This time, they expected humanity's scavenged weaponry, but humanity was already 10 steps ahead. The new Terran Dominion fleet wasn't just built from old wreckage. It was alive. Ships repaired themselves using Nanita-infused hull plating. Old Dominion AI cores, previously discarded as too unstable, were now running entire battle formations. Even captured Reaper technology as thought impossible to control was being repurposed into humanity's arsenal. And when the battle began, the Reapers struggled. For every weapon they countered, Humanity deployed to more, stitched together from salvage debris. For every strategy they adapted to, humans threw out their own plans and improvised something new. By the end of the battle, the Reapers retreated, not because they were losing ships, but because, for the first time, they had encountered something they couldn't predict. The final stand. Word spread across the galaxy. The unstoppable Reapers had been stopped. Not by the Dominion, not by some ancient superweapon, but by humans' THE scavengers, the upstarts, the ones who built warships out of scrap and refused to die. And now, the war wasn't just about survival. It was about pushing back. Elias Carter stood on the bridge of the Junkyard King, staring at the galactic map. The Reapers still held vast territories. Their fleet still outnumbered humanity 8,000 to 1. But humanity had something the Reapers never could. Creativity. Desperation. A refusal to give up. Carter cracked his knuckles, grinning. Time to turn their junk into our treasure. And with that, the final war for the galaxy began. To be continued. Best HFY Stories. 1 Aliens Junk is humanity's jackpot. The final chapter. The war had raged across the stars. The Reapers, once thought to be an unstoppable force, had met their match in humanitized species that refused to die, that turned trash into treasure, and that saw limitations as mere suggestions. But the Reapers weren't finished yet. They had learned from their defeats, adapted, evolved, and now they were preparing for their final move: complete annihilation of all organic life in the galaxy. The Reaper superweapon. Deep in the void, beyond charted space, the Reapers had been constructing something colossal, a planet-sized machine, a doomsday weapon capable of consuming entire solar systems. It didn't just destroy planets, it broke them down, turning their very matter into fuel for the Reaper war machine. If it went online, a war was over. The Dominion High Council panicked. Entire species began preparing for evacuation, searching for worlds beyond the galactic rim. But humanity had a different plan. The last gamble. Elias Carter stood on the bridge of the Junkyard King, staring at the holographic display of the Reaper superweapon. "Tell me we've got something," he muttered. Sir Luck, standing beside him, crossed his arms. "Even our combined fleets cannot destroy a structure that size. It is self-repairing, constantly evolving." Carter smirked. "Then we don't destroy it." Sir Luck tilted his head. "Man, what? We steal it." The Dominion officers in the room recoiled in shock. Sir Luck's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You cannot be serious. That thing is the size of a moon. It is powered by technology even we do not understand." Carter grinned. "And that's never stopped us before." Operation Scrap Heap Titan. The plan was madness. It required everything humanity had ever done best. Step 1. Hack into the Reaper network using stolen tech. Overwhelm their AI with so much bad code that it forced them into defensive mode. Step 2. Deploy thousands of repurposed Dominion war drones now controlled by human-patched AI to keep the Reaper fleets busy. Step 3. Land a single strike team onto the superweapon's surface, infiltrate its core, and hijack its systems. Step 4. Turn the weapon against the Reapers. It was ridiculous, impossible, and that was exactly why it would work. The final battle. The Reapers were waiting when the fleet arrived. Swarms of them, dark as the void, moving with terrifying precision. But humanity had brought the junkyard. Bastardized warships held together by sheer willpower. Energy shields scavenged from a downseen species. Weapons that shouldn't have worked together but did. The Dominion fought alongside them. Their once proud fleets, now retrofitted with human ingenuity. And at the heart of it all, the Junkyard King led the charge. Carter and his team breached the super weapons core, fighting through mechanical horrors. The Reapers tried to seal them out, adapt, counteract the hack. But they weren't fighting an orderly, predictable enemy. They were fighting humans. Within minutes, the system was compromised. The weapons controls flickered. The Reapers tried to purge the intrusion. But it was too late. Carter's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Hey, Reapers, hope you don't mind, but we're taking this bad boy for a spin." The superweapon's massive energy array shifted, no longer targeting planets. It turned on the Reapers themselves. The end of the Reapers. The Reapers had never faced a weapon of their own making. As the superweapon fired, entire fleets vanished, consumed in an instant. The Reapers tried to retreat, tried to adapt. But the humans had one last trick. Using stolen Reaper coding, they activated a subroutine hidden deep within the enemy's own AI, a flaw the Reapers themselves had discarded, thinking it useless. It forced the Reapers into an infinite logic loop of contradiction they couldn't resolve. And just like that, the galaxy's greatest threat collapsed. The Reapers shut down. Every single one. In an instant, a war was over. The aftermath. Months later, the galactic balance of power had shifted forever. The Dominion still existed, but no longer as conquerors. They had learned the value of adaptation, of working with the unpredictable force that was humanity. And humans? They had just won the galaxy with stolen junk. Carter stood on the deck of the Junkyard King, now the flagship of a new era. He looked out at the stars, same stars that had once seemed so distant, so unreachable. Not bad, he muttered to himself, not bad at all. Humanity had started at the bottom. Now, they were at the top. And it had all started with a pile of scrap. The end.